Hi, my name is Latea Walker, and this is my research project on the functionality of corporal punishment. So, what is corporal punishment? Corporal punishment can be defined as the use of physical force on children for disciplinary purposes. And why is this problematic? Corporal punishment is problematic because it puts children in the direct line of harm. It can contribute to their trauma. It is harmful for them. It is potentially dangerous. It is a violent experience for children. The sociological theory that I chose to use to support this project was the functionalist perspective because it questions the purpose behind the practice. So, the practice of using physical force on children for disciplinary purposes. Why? What is the purpose for it? Well, the purpose is to promote obedience and conformity. CP, as I will refer to corporal punishment as throughout this presentation, CP is about controlling the child. It is about making sure that their behaviors are under control. It is a parental strategy. Is it a good one or not? That is one of the questions that I use to really just guide me throughout this project. And it has implications. Again, their behavior. So, social deviance is another factor that really grounded this project. Is that it's brought into question with corporal punishment. Essentially, corporal punishment is used to teach disobedient children to conform, which is conformity and obedience are a big part of social deviance. It's about doing acceptable behaviors and steering away from unacceptable behaviors. So, some of the research I did for this project, there were few facts that I found particularly interesting. One is that there is a significant yet modest relationship between violent behavior and physical punishment. And so during this research, for this fact that I found, it was found that um, the relationship between violent behavior and physical punishment, it exists. There's not a very strong relationship there, but there is a significant relationship there that is identifiable. Another fact about corporal punishment that is important to mention is that it exists on a spectrum. So there's pro corporal punishment, conditional corporal punishment in the middle, anti corporal punishment at the end. So, pro corporal punishment is the belief that physical force is necessary to raise a child, to maintain authority as a parental figure. Conditional corporal punishment is where it's as needed. It's not like, and I've heard parents tell me this while discussing my project, it's like they felt the need to explain why they use it. It's not like they're doing it around the clock every day. It's in certain circumstances. And anti CP is where physical force on children is viewed as flat out wrong. You don't do that. Another fact that I found particularly interesting was that corporal punishment can be unlearned. The practice of corporal punishment, it's not set in stone. You may have heard, I hear it quite a bit. A lot of parents will say, this is how I was raised, this is how I want to raise my child. This happened to me, I turned out fine. Well, there was a study done that shows that parents that believed in corporal punishment, once they were educated on the topic, they went through an educational module and completed it, and they learned positive alternatives to corporal punishment and even addressed their negative practices, and they were able to unlearn those behaviors, those practices. Which, after evaluating the research in sociological perspective, I came to my hypothesis, which is that individuals that have experienced corporal punishment as children are not subjected to less deviant behavior than those who do not associate with this form of punishment. Essentially, what I am saying is that if you experience corporal punishment as a child, that's not going to make you any more or less better off in terms of deviance than someone who didn't. And to gather my data from this hypothesis and to test my hypothesis, I compiled a 59 question survey. Due to the sensitive nature of the topic, I thought it was important to include a consent disclosure statement, which I really did that to ensure the participants that their information was going to remain anonymous. It wouldn't affect them in any way to complete or not complete the form. So then there's the next section, which is CP screening. And the CP screening are 4 questions used to determine in a participant's association or lack thereof with corporal punishment. The last part is the normative deviance scale, which was not created by me. It was created by a child and family research studies professor, and his name's Alexander Vasoni, and he created this NDS all the way back in 2001. It was revised in 2012. It's a 55-question survey with 5 subscales ranging from general deviance to assault to theft to school misconduct to alcohol use and drug use. And it measures deviance on a numerative scale. So you can take someone's responses and actually grade them, kind of like a test, and you can assign values based on that. And that is what my findings are. The 90%, the percentages are values. These values were not that, these were from the CP screening questions. So 90% of participants actually reported being associated with corporal punishment. And 58.68% reported that they support the practice of CP, but they don't believe it decreases unwanted behaviors, which I thought was really interesting and may need to be explored more. So when it comes to the NDS scores, like I said, it was graded. The highest score was 56.72%. The lowest score was 20%. The averages range from 32% to 36.97%. And out of the highest scores, 10 participants scored above the percentage of 50, but they scored above 50. And out of majority of the participants that scored above 50, most of them had an association with CP. So most of the participants that had the highest deviance score also had an association with corporal punishment. Further analysis, so the data from this survey, it shows that individuals with a CP association and individuals without a CP association, there's not a significant difference in their deviance scores. As you can see from the data provided, there's no correlation. There's no relationship in either direction that shows that corporal punishment is working, that it's effective. And this supports my hypothesis that corporal punishment is not functional. Which brings me to my revisiting functionality. So the results from this project, although it implies that corporal punishment is not functional, people who experience corporal punishment as children can still grow up to become socially deviant of adults. And what does this mean for our society? Although multiple researchers have studied this topic, there is still more work to be done, but they have found that it does not work for its intended purpose and may be harmful. Furthermore, what does this imply for our society? So, the results from the corporal punishment survey imply that wrongdoing is not something that can be solved by discipline or corrections. Although the NDS, although I graded the scores, although I got all the percentages analyzed, it's corporal punishment and deviance. It's not something you can assign a number to and just say that is truth. The thing is that deviant behavior is more or less about the truth inside of ourselves and what we believe is right and wrong. It's not about whether our parents spanked us or as a child. Being spanked as a child does not make you a good person, just like not being spanked as a child doesn't make you a bad person. The data from this survey and related studies, it really just speaks for itself that there is not a relationship between the two. All right, and that's my project, everyone. I hope you liked it.